Welcome to the Life Hacks Show. Life Hacks gives you proof hacks and tips for the best version of yourself. And here's your crash test dummy for a better life, Marcus Moirer.
Okay, guys, welcome to another episode of the Life Hacks Show. We are still on Bali in Rome, Ubud, which is a great new co-living, co-working project for digital nomads and online entrepreneurs. But yeah, you will get some more details now, just in a few seconds, because I'm sitting here with with the community manager of the Rome Ubud, with Alysia. Is this right? Is this your role here?
Yeah, I would say it's definitely in charge of, they call me the head of community happiness, which is more exciting than community manager as far as the title goes. But yes.
Cool. Yeah, I can really underline that you're the perfect person for this role, like bringing the happiness into this room or into this space, because you've been to Singapore the last 2 or 3 days and was a little bit different. I didn't hear you laughing somewhere. So everybody knows when you're around, and it's cool. It's a good positive energy you're spreading. So we really love it here. What was your first touch point with Rome and with this project?
My first touch point actually was last year when I was introduced to Bruno, and it's through a friend that works with the Summit series. And I was taking a year off after moving on from a business of my own that I had for 7 years and working on consulting projects. So it was introduced to me after I'd been living in Bali for about 5 months. And we actually never had a chance to connect, but I thought in person. Thought it was a really cool project, and I sort of read about it, followed up with it, and then we finally met when I came to Bali, and I actually was at the place where I was like, oh, I'm not taking any more consulting projects, and I was working on a small e-commerce site and just taking time to do a creative project for myself.
And where have you been working from before?
Well, I'm from Vancouver, Canada. And then I was living in Bali last year for about 8 months and traveled sort of around parts of Asia, but mostly I was based here. So I went home for about 5 months, and then I came back again in February to Rome, and I saw everything that was going on here, and they were just starting up, and we had a chat, and I said, hey, this is such a cool project. I want to be a part of this. And so it kind of went from there, and it was sort of serendipitous, unexpected, but a really, really cool fit. So yeah.
Now you're here.
And now I'm here.
Cool. Yeah, this is how things happen. And you just mentioned, when was the soft launch of this project? Because I think now it gets more and more traction, and I realize that more and more people are talking about this in our whole industry, in the scene around the digital nomads. When did it really took off, and when did you start?
So the soft launch started happening, I think, officially around January, and out of soft launch was March. So March was our first full month out of soft launch, and so it's been really interesting to find out who is coming to Rome and who's taking the most out of it, and understanding what it is that people sort of need or are interested in before they either come, or people like you and Fili, for example, who have been traveling around for a long time, and you really can appreciate the community and understand what it is you need, and knowing that it's all here already waiting for you. So so that's been really cool, and seeing events coming together and people sharing and the community developing around it and how people are talking about it. And it's definitely the first of its kind in the world, from what I understand, what I've seen, and really excited to see how it grows.
For Philly and me, it's really like the greatest benefits are it's a very soft landing. Everything is already here, what we need. So we have a proper co-working space with a proper table. I love to sit at proper desk. The internet is quite stable and working very fast. We have a community kitchen. We love to cook on our own, and we love to live healthy. So it's not about spending the money like a tourist when you travel that much, like Philly and me. So this is very convenient for us. We have the rooftop where I can do the meditating thing and the morning routines, and for myself, and also like capoeira or yoga sessions. So it's really soft and very convenient to check into the rooms. So what are the people in general who already checked in here, because the project is not running for a long time now? Maybe you will get a better picture over the time, but since now, what kind of people are checking into Rome?
Super good question. So we have found that it's definitely, well, people like you and Fili, and also we have people taking time gaps in between jobs. So, for example, we have, and a lot of software developers, a lot of remote workers, people are taking time for creative projects like writing, for example, and not necessarily figuring out what to do next, but knowing they have a few months in between, from one position to the next position and moving on to something new. I think Bali will always be a different space than in a space in North America, and Miami, which is opening in May, and also, different than Spain. Madrid is opening in June as well, which is really exciting. But I think Bali is definitely a place for incubation. However, we find that the people who are here and staying with us are definitely more, everybody seems to be contributing to each other equally. And I think when and very collaborative, and that collaborative sort of togetherness I found exists within traveling and within the co-working community around the world. But sometimes I find that it pulls a lot of your energy, sometimes more than it can give. And I find Roam to be an experience of giving and sharing. And it's very sort of equal, and people are excited to add value to each other's lives. And I think that's really cool, really inspirational, and really important piece of exploring this lifestyle. So, yeah.
What I really like here is, the mixture of the people, the backgrounds. As you mentioned, you have very creative people, you have writers here. You have really entrepreneurs running businesses with big figures and revenue and lots of responsibility and already built up a team. You have solopreneurs, you have people who just, are before the next step and need some headspace to work on some strategic things. So it's a big variety. And I think this is what it makes also very, very motivating and inspiring, seeing other people working on their stuff, and then you just sit next to them and work on your stuff. So this is why we have been really, really productive in the last, I think, when did we check in here? I can't remember. Time flies by. I think 2 or 3 weeks. Yeah. And we got a lot of things done. And as you said, Bali as a very unique island also, I think, adds some extra value to this Roam U-boat, especially the Roam in U-boat project. So, I can really recommend everyone to check out the Roam place. And if you have the chance, maybe start in Bali, because it's very, very special here. What are the other places you're planning to open at? And what is the concept behind it? What does it cost?
So the concept behind Roam, and as it continues to evolve based on the people that we're finding again, is essentially you sign one lease and you pay the same monthly fee around the world. So that means in any of the spaces. So for example, if you wanted to start in Bali and then you wanted to move on and check out Miami, and then you were like, hey, I want to go and see Madrid. Eventually we plan to open something in Buenos Aires and maybe London. What does it look like to be completely location independent, or to take, 5 months or a year to travel between those places? And in those places, you'll know, as you guys have experienced here, that everything will be waiting in all of those locations to work efficiently, to work on a project efficiently, to participate in a community. So you can expect all of the basic things like internet, a really great place to sleep and place to eat, the shared kitchens, community events, and all of the support around that. And it will exist in all of the spaces, but obviously catered to the different cities and communities that it's located in. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's really, really huge and ambitious what you're doing. And to be honest, I was a little bit skeptical when I heard for the very first time about this project. It had another name at this point. Almost with Caravan Sarai or something like this. It was hard to remember, but I said, okay, it sounds interesting, but don't know. Digital Nomads want to be too flexible and live too much on their own, but it's not the main target group, or it's just a piece of the target group. And then I understood, and I think there are very many smart people now in the team who runs this business. So maybe can you name some people who are involved in this, and how is this project funded?
Yeah, so I can see where you're coming from in that too. It is a very big and ambitious project, and I think it definitely takes a team of people who are very dedicated and interested in this sort of lifestyle and what it brings to the world. So Bruno is the CEO and founder. And so everybody, I guess, just to touch base, there are 5 co-founders and a few founding team members. So we're all sort of working very closely together every day, remotely as well. So there's an office in New York, and we have some of the team is in Miami right now, preparing for the opening.
And how do you work? Which tools do you use to work collaboratively?
Yeah. So that being said, being all over the place with time differences and working remotely, we also have Flo, who's the CTO, and he's in Prague right now working with the development team. So we are all over. Yeah. Definitely Slack is really helpful. We use scheduling software. I mean, it's pretty simple at this point. We use Google to schedule things. We use Google Hangouts. We use Slack. And then we have a CRM that we use across the board to keep track of things, because obviously there's communication that happens from all different areas, around the same topics, or people checking in, etc. And then we are developing our own booking software system. So when you guys check in, we have a collaborative system that works all across the board. So it's really a matter of us checking in, seeing how it works, and then collaborating and talking about it, and then sort of repeating that process. And it seems to be working really well so far. So.
Okay. Are there any special challenges working with a remote team in different time zones?
Yeah, I would say the time zone stuff. So far, I haven't experienced any huge issues, but I mean, with any time that you guys understand that working remotely, I mean, you're staying up until, midnight or 1 o'clock on calls sometimes. And sometimes if there's something that's really time sensitive and you're not going to get an answer right away. So I think those are probably the 2 biggest things. And, but things always seem to get solved. And I think when you take a step back and just realize, like, this is part of what we're bringing to the world. This is how we've chosen to live and how we've chosen to communicate, and developing systems that make all of those things a little bit softer for everyone is really helpful. And yeah, so far so good. Those challenges are there, but they never stop anything from going forward. So I think that's important to remember. It's easy to get stressed out about things, but it's not. It's a whole new challenge and a way to grow when you just realize that this is what we have in front of us, and like, how can we work the best with what we have.
Well, great. Thanks for the insight. What is the long-term vision of this project? Where do you want to have locations, and what do you think about this project? Where could it be in 5 years? 10 years is probably a bit too long in nowadays.
Yeah, I mean, I think the initial thing that captured my interest was when I first came to Bali. I literally had just moved away from my own business and had never traveled this far abroad. And there are all these things that you have to figure out. Saves a lot of opportunity cost and time invested into figuring out where to go, where to eat, what's close, how to rent a scooter, all the things that you go through looking for a co-working space when you come to a new space. So I imagine that once that starts to catch on and people really see the value in that, and the ability that it gives you to travel around from place to place in a way that makes it more accessible. I think it's a more accessible way. And to know you have a really great base and community and people to talk about it with. In 5 years, I think that is a little bit far down the road. I'm not sure, because it changes and evolves all the time, like any startup.
Yeah, it's crazy, especially nowadays in the nomad scene.
Yeah, but we definitely hope to create a space where people can give up their leases and see people living across the globe, around the world. So far, we have Bali, Miami is next, Madrid, Buenos Aires, and London is in the foreseeable future as well. So that's really interesting and exciting. And I hope that we open more locations around the world and make it something like an everyday part of how people work and live, and something that really is a part of their decision-making process when they think about traveling and moving around. I'd love for that to happen, and I can see it gaining traction already, which is super, super exciting. Yeah.
Yeah, I can also see it that it gets more and more traction everywhere. Do you already have some learnings in the first months? What were your biggest learnings, or where maybe did you think it could have worked, but it didn't work out the way you thought about things? Or what did you iterate and what did you optimize?
I think that definitely, thank you. The onboarding and the processes. I think taking into consideration also a lot of things for a business like this, for example, are regulations and sort of the ways that each place work. And specifically, I think Airbnb has been challenged by a lot of these things as well, like laws, politics, things like that. things that come up, and then we're like, oh wait, we have to be flexible and realize that this is going to take a month instead of a week like we would have liked to plan. So definitely, I think the time that things take is important to consider, and just realize that they always take longer than you expect.
And the local, the habits, cultures.
Yeah, cultural integration is really important. And also being flexible just to evolve things. So I think it's really exciting that we get to listen to the people that are staying with us and get their feedback and then create a product based on that. So we're in this time where we're not doing a minimal viable product and just getting something out. I mean, in a sense we are, but as our customers and our members develop, Roam develops. And so it's a very integrated thing, which is really cool. And I think it's very unique, especially in the startup world. And it's sort of like in real time. Yeah. So then I guess the third thing would be just having really structured systems. And maybe sometimes you think one thing will work and it's not so effective. So making sure that we all are on the same page and have systems around things, I think is super, super important. Yeah.
Yeah. It's super exciting to be involved from the very first moment in your project and to give you some feedback later. And I'm really curious what we're going on in the next months or years with Roam, because I think it has a huge potential. And I'm trying to have you in Berlin to find the right location. I'm really looking forward to it, to have another home base there, and then maybe just check into Roam and not having any more the heather with Airbnb or with midterm rents. That would really help us and solve a lot of hassle and problems we have at the moment. And what is next for you? How long do you want to stay here in this place? Do you have any plans, or are you just going with the flow and yeah?
It seems to be I'm being pretty flexible at the moment. I'm really excited to be participating in the project. I'm not sure if I will travel with Roam. It sounds like that might be something that I do. And we'll see what happens. I mean, my project was an e-commerce project, and it's actually still developing. So it sort of is a content platform at the moment through my own blog. And then later on, I'll transition that content and see how that evolves. But it is Bali based and it is product based. So that's definitely something I can't work on while I'm working on this. But I think one thing that traveling and working in location independence has taught me is flexibility is a really good thing. It's empowering. It teaches you a lot. Yeah. And I'm already learning so much. So it's a powerful experience for me. I'll probably be here for a few months. We'll see if I go around anywhere else. It's actually also really exciting because I don't know yet.
Cool. It's all about flexibility and going with the flow. Thanks, Alysia, for your time, and thanks for all the insights of one of the most exciting Digital Nomad projects at the moment. So we really love and enjoy our time here, and I recommend everyone to dip a toe into this new style of co-living and co-working together globally in different places. So thanks again for your time.
Thanks, Marcus.
Okay, guys, this was the episode from Life Hacks, and see you here next time. Peace and out. Yes, yo, this was another episode of the Life Hacks show. If you love what you're listening to and can use some of the tools and hacks we are sharing on the Life Hacks show, I would be more than happy if you can give me a review or rating on iTunes. Follow me on facebook.com/Moira Markus and just ping me and give me some feedback. That would mean the world to me. So long, have fun, peace and out.